Today's video is how to buy a house in Madeira, Portugal. Now this video is inspired by my previous video, so what 139,000 euros gets you in Madeira. A lot of you seem to be quite interested in it, so I thought I'd expand and just talk about it a bit more. So I found this house on a site called Idealista. So this is a portal where they list where estate agents advertise properties that are for sale. But be mindful, in Madeira there are still quite a few properties that aren't listed online, but you will see for sale signs on them with contact details. So this is like private arrangements. I can't advise on that, but I can advise on doing it through Idealista. So great, you found what you like. What's the next step? You need to contact the agent on the app. But I've noticed oftentimes if you email them, they don't get back to you, which can be quite frustrating. So I suggest that you instead call them. And when you call them, you're actually able to set up a viewing fairly quickly. So do that straight away once you've seen what you like, because it can go quite quickly. When I contacted the estate agent, he told me that there were actually viewings in 2 days' time. But he was actually amazing. So his name's Claudio and he's at Remax. So he actually virtually he gave me a tour of the outside of the property the day before, and then he's just been supporting me the whole way through it. So during viewings, you attend with your agent, and oftentimes the seller is also in the house, and they kind of follow you around from room to room, and they're trying to sell the property and sell the quirks, but you want your own space just to think about it and to absorb all the information. Oh, another thing I will recommend actually is try and find out how many people are on the deed for the property. Due to Portuguese inheritance laws, oftentimes you will have one property that's owned by in theory 20 people. So just try and make sure that you know who owns it and that they're willing to sell it, because otherwise you just waste your time, and it's just going to, if it's the perfect property and you like it, it's just going to be heartbreaking for you. Once you've done this, I personally would advise that you get the property seen by a surveyor. I did not do this in my own case, and as you can see from my channel and some of my videos, I have had some really surprising, I'm trying to be diplomatic about this, but there are quite a few letdowns to my property, and I've even discovered more. So there's a wall that's collapsing into a neighbour's property, which obviously was not declared when I was buying the property. I spoke to a builder, and it's going to cost me quite a bit of money to rectify that. And if I had known, I would not have offered the asking price for the property. I mean, I did try initially and offer what was it, 137,000 euros, but they did not accept, because they said that's what the bank has valued it at, and they were just adamant that they wanted 139,000, sorry. Also, quite a few people were viewing this property because of how affordable it is, and it's still in Funchal. I mean, I'm on the outskirts, but it's still in Funchal. Has loads of accessibility, and personally I quite like being near the city centre. I mean, I'm not, but I like knowing that the city centre isn't far away from me, if that makes sense. So yeah, so I've got a wall that's crumbling into a neighbour's property. I've also found from the mountains there's often water coming down, and it makes lavadas and drainage and stuff. So right at the back of my house, up against one of the walls, I have what I'm choosing to call a lavada. It's not a lavada, it's drainage, but I think that's actually what may be causing all the damp and moisture in the house. Again, guys, thank you for all the amazing advice you gave me in the previous video about not getting the external wall added, so like a veneer added to the room that has mold. It appears that one of my neighbours may have a peacock, or yeah, I think that's a peacock. That does not sound like a cockerel or anything like that. Well, that sounded like a cockerel, but I think there's actually a peacock. So once I knew that I wanted this house, I was advised to do what is called a purchase proposal. So essentially what you do is you pay 10% of the value of the house, and once you've done that and it's been accepted by the seller, it kind of locks you both in. So you can't then pull out of the sale unless you want to completely lose your deposit. So just to give you an example, in my case that was just a tiny bit under 14,000 euros. It was 13,900 euros, so quite a bit of money. However, on the flip side, if the seller pulls out, they have to pay you double of what you paid. So I mean, it protects you both. It's quite a good thing, but it can screw you in the face. While we're on the topic of the purchase proposal, I would implore you to add a clause just stipulating that the home or the property or whatever will be given to you in a satisfactory condition. I will explain why it's important to have that further down the road, but don't just sign what you're given. So for me, it was translated into English, so I did know what I was signing. But remember, anytime you do any sort of documents like this, it can be amended, so you can add your own conditions as well. So the final step of this whole process is the CPCV. I do not know what that stands for because obviously it's in Portuguese, but I will add it to the bottom of this video. So during this meeting, it will be at a notary office. You will have your agent, the seller's agent, and if you're using a mortgage, you will also have the bank present. This bit is quite boring and it's a long meeting where you have to divulge all your personal information, your relationship status, everything about you, and the seller also does the same. They then read the contract in full. In my case, I was quite lucky that the sellers spoke English, so we were able to do it in English. Weirdly enough, we were kind of switching places because obviously I was leaving the UK for Portugal and they were leaving Portugal for the UK. They had actually lived there for quite a number of years, so it was interesting. But again, the process is very long-winded. Once this is done, you then have to pay the outstanding balance. So you need to deduct the 10% that you've already paid from the agreed purchase price. And I did this through I think it's called a bank check. After this, my agent took me for lunch and we celebrated together. We then returned to the house, and I should have some videos of this. If I'm being honest, it wasn't the best experience and it did dampen things for me. But when we returned to the house, I'm trying to think of the most diplomatic way to put this, but the previous owners had left it in an absolute state. So they left multiple bowls of cat food on the floors. They had left half-eaten food on the countertops, dirty dishes. They had completely, so you know I have the storage room. I have the storage room and I have the washing room. They had completely left bags and bags of rubbish in there. Anything they did not want, they just tossed in there. They had left a broken wardrobe in what is now the main bedroom. They had left dirty, used shower mats everywhere. It was a really, when I'd met them, it had seemed like such a positive process. So when I'd gone to the house and seen what it looked like, I was just really shocked and just disappointed. This is why I keep saying, if you're going to buy a house, in the contract, please add that the house must be given to you in a satisfactory condition. So my agent, who is Claudio at Remax, he was shocked. He contacted their estate agent, who then contacted them, and essentially they had said it's not our problem anymore. So because everything had been signed over to me, it was now for me to deal with. But it definitely left a really sour taste in my mouth. But Claudio, he came here on the weekend and he cleared out the entire place. He did all of it. He was so supportive about the whole situation, and he himself seemed quite surprised. I don't think he'd encountered this before. It was just in bad taste.